Chris Duggan, TLP Red here. Just recording my next video. So yesterday we had a look at some of the basic tools like Shodan and Fofa, and had a look at some North Korean malware. Today I thought I'd just answer a couple of questions that I've received via Twitter or LinkedIn, and also on the YouTube channel. So the first question is regarding Shodan, Fofa and Census. I've always used Shodan. It's a tool that I've used for many years. It's really cheap. They have some really great offers on. So the usually once a year you can buy a lifetime membership of Shodan for a few dollars. So well worth the money. It has its flaws. It may not be the best on the market, but it's certainly a very good tool. And if I was a beginner, I would certainly look at mastering Shodan, setting up an account and playing with it, and try and follow along with some of these sessions. The other tool is Fofa. So Fofa is very competitively priced, has some really good data in there. It's Chinese, I believe it's Chinese. So for $25 a month, you can get a fairly decent license on there, and you again a really good source. Census, again, another fantastic source. The last time I looked at Census, it was quite expensive. So whilst I have used the tool, I've generally just focused on Shodan and Fofa, and that's just my own personal preference. So the other tools that I use quite a bit, pretty much every day, is VirusTotal. And I'd say if I was a beginner and I was looking at doing this type of analysis, I probably would look at mastering Shodan, Fofa and VirusTotal, and use those in my analysis, and you can get some really fantastic results. The other question I had was where do I go to get good intelligence to start with? And I think over the coming weeks I'll probably show my analysis on various pieces of malware and campaigns, and I'll point the user where I found the original report and source, and I'll walk you through how I did my analysis. But on a daily basis, I'd say Bleeping Computer is as good as any for keeping up to date on what's going on. They've got some really good coverage in there, always have the link to the source report, so you won't go far wrong just following Bleeping Computer. It served me well. Of course, you've got Twitter, or X. Again, some fantastic researchers on there. There's quite a few that I follow. I think people like Josh Penny from Bridewell, he's really good. The Russian Panda, she produces some excellent analysis. There's too many to mention, but yeah, if you go onto on X and just start following, when you see someone tweet some research, just hit follow them, and before you know it, you've got a really good stream of fresh intelligence coming in on there. The other really good source, which is often overlooked, is Malpedia. So this is really, I always have a dip into here and see if there's anything interesting to find. So let's just take the top one, for example. So we've got a report here that's come in on the 6th of November, and it's talking about a campaign. So this one is by Checkpoint, so a good credible source, and it's on the new Rhadamanthys. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I did Google it. It's apparently the son of Zeus. So there's a report here, and as always, I'll just walk you through sort of how I'd analyse this report. So if I had the time, or if this was something that was particularly of interest, say I was working for an organisation and there was an RFI request coming from the SOC and they wanted additional indicators or some analysis on this, then I'd probably take my time and read through the report. So by the looks of it, it's some kind of phishing campaign, looking at copyright as a sort of lure on there. So generally just have a scroll through. As I say, if I was in a hurry, I would just literally scroll right to the bottom, see if there's any C2 IOCs in there. So in this report there is. So again, I just take those out, I'd cut and paste them into a text file, name the text file, and then save that away after I've done my analysis. So I've always got a paper trail of what I did, and that's always handy as well. If you, especially like on the MacBook, if you were reading a report and you think, oh, actually, Have I seen this IP before? You can just do a search function and it will do a search across all your text files, and then it will link it through to campaigns. And so it's a bit like having a threat intelligence platform in your MacBook. So I always try and save the data in there in a text file. It's just personal preference. So we've got there so the C2 data on there. Just having a look through at some of the artifacts in here, just having a look what they look like. Just taking a note of the names in there, and then just have a quick blitz through the conclusion just to see if there's any points in here. And it just say, fair enough, it was a campaign in July, so it's not the freshest of campaigns, but nonetheless they have got the data in there. So what you'll find, if I was looking for something to research, generally the closer the intelligence is to the campaign happening, the more likely you are to catch the C2s, whilst they're still live. So the issue with this one is, because it's a couple of months old, the C2s may be down, you may not have the data in there. So it is trial and error, and sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't. So typically what I'd want to do is understand how this adversary, this campaign, register it, how they configure their infrastructure, what does it look like, what type of hosting do they use, and then basically see if I can pivot off of these indicators to find further infrastructure, create a hunt rule that I could use if I was particularly interested in this, that I could run in a script every day, and that would return any new indicators, and then you could find fresh stuff that hasn't been reported. You could probably pick up on new campaigns, that there's a slight variance in what they were doing, and it really gives you the edge. So there is an opportunity here to really shine as a threat intelligence analyst, particularly if you want to outperform the other analysts you're working in your team, or do a good job for your SOC. So today let's just focus on Shodan and work our way through. So if we take the first one in the list and just see what it returns. So just looking at the tags, we've got a self-signed certificate, so that's fairly promising. So you generally find that you always find that they're with the certificates on 443, typically things like let's encrypt and so on and so forth. But a self-signed certificate is always a good one to try and pivot off of, depending on how they've set that certificate up. So we've got Majestic Hosting. So again, that's quite an interesting one to follow. You'll find as you do more and more analysis, you'll get to know the names of certain hosting providers, and as soon as you see it, you think, yeah, this is probably something that's going to host a C2 or some infrastructure that I'd be particularly interested in. The next thing I'd look at, so we've got port 22 open, SSH. So what I always do is a right click on the hash here. So what that is actually the public key on the SSH. So obviously with SSH you've got a private key and a public key, and sometimes the adversaries are really lazy, and so they'll control multiple servers but use the same key. So if you take a hash of the public key, then potentially you could discover the rest of their infrastructure. So on this one it doesn't have it, so fine. So there's not a pivot point as yet on that. If we scroll down to 443, so first of all we've got a 0 here, so there's no HTML file, or the HTML is returning a 0, so there's nothing really interesting to look on there, and there's no header. So literally all we've got is this certificate, and that's about it. So what I would do is go into the raw data first and foremost. So again, expand all, and then just scroll down to the 443 and just have a look and see what have we got available that potentially we could pivot off of. So just scroll past all that rubbish that no one really cares about till we get down to 443. So we've got the details there. So what we're looking at, so we've got no robots text file. So again, that could be a pivot point. If there's a robot text file and it could put something quite unique in there, you could potentially pivot off of that. Nothing there. So this one's not a great deal on there to pivot off of. So just scrolling through. So we have got the certificate. So if we take the SHA-256, and what I would do is just make a note of that in my file, so as I'm going through. So to pivot on that, to do a search, you literally just type SSL and then like that. So that could be a search in itself, and scrolling down, nothing else, no favicons, nothing exciting, but we have a JARM. Now JA3S will get you a lot of results generally, but JARM is generally quite my preferred method for pivoting between the two. You get some really interesting results. So typically what I would do is just right click on that. One of the things in Shodan, with most of these, you can just right click and open up in a new tab, and it will, so you don't have to worry about, oh, what's the search term for JARM, and you can't remember, and you're trying to refer to your notes, and if you don't want to sort of have the time to learn it all, you can just right click and it will just create the search for you. So that JARM on its own, 18,000 results, just over, and we can see about 5,500 results there. So it's too broad, too wide to use on its own. So we can just make a note of that. But let's go back to this SSL certificate and do a search for that and see what it brings back. Okay, it brings back 1 result. And the reason being, when they're registering it, they've put the IP address in there. So the IP in the common name is included. So of course, it's going to be unique to that IP. However, what we have got in here, and you can see how this is configured, no data returns, there's no header, no details, but the organisation is self-signed certificate. So what I could do is take that, instead of putting the hash, we can put that in quotes, like that, and we can try the two together. So what we're saying is, give me, actually, just to show let's just have a look and see how many results are with just that one on its own, without the JARM. So give me any certificate, IP with a certificate that says it's self-signed. So there's over 301,000, so it's way too broad. But if we combine it with that JARM, and again, if I was new to this, always worth having a Google of what JARM is, have a read up of how it works. But what you can see, the beauty of using JARM and combining it with other search terms, you can really narrow the results down. So we're now down to 21 results. So that's really quite interesting. And the bulk are on 443 and an odd one on port 7001. So that's quite an interesting search. So let's just, I always do that. And again, so let's just have a look. So we got the hosting providers. So if you click on the more, it will bring up this facets page. I love this feature on Shodan, and you can really start playing around and drilling into the data on the search terms, and we'll probably cover that off in some later videos. But when we look at this list, what we've got, Changwei Technologies. Now I've seen that an awful lot with Shadow Syndicate on their infrastructure. Always a good indicator it's bad. Dolphin 1337, so Leap, obviously is a hacker term, so interesting. Red Bytes, reliable, router hosting. So there's some interesting hosting providers on there, but let's put it that way. I don't want to badmouth any of them, I don't want to get sued. So, but yeah, so interesting. And so what I would do now, I'm thinking, okay, we've got down to 21 results. The first one we had was the IP, what was the IP? 198.191, so this is a different one on reliable in the Netherlands. So I would go to VirusTotal, and by the way, if you haven't got an account, we'll always open up a free account with them and register, and bingo. So the first one we've got in here, so we've got 3 out of 94 antiviruses have detected this as bad. The last analysis date was a month ago. Okay, fair enough. And it's just got it down as malware. So, been registered as blockchain. Okay. So we've got the certificate in there, which we know we've searched for, and if there's any Google. So bingo. So the first in the Google results, we've got a recorded future report here mentioning that it's this Rhadamanthys. So excellent. So that's a good indicator. Well, a good search on that first result. So we pinned it down to this indicator is mentioned in this report by recorded future. So I'd probably make a note of this, and probably well, I would include that in my Maltego chart. So again, when I go to create my Maltego and start mapping this out. So again, I think Checkpoint were quite slow on reporting this, to be honest. It's because it's a campaign from June, and they've just published this report. What's the date on this report? 6th of November. A bit slow. So recorded future ahead of the curve there. Same version number, 0.71, and I think that's what was mentioned in this report somewhere. Yeah, Steelers 0.7. So okay, so that's interesting, and let's just have a look at the relations. So we've got this, that's old, 2018, 2022, so no real new domains on there, as you'd expect, because it's not hosting anything, it's got no header on it. And yeah, so we've got the report on there. So let's just see whether that was just a lucky hit, or whether any of these others. Actually, what I should have done, to be fair, is let me just double check in this report, make sure. So it's not mentioned in that report, and let's see if it's mentioned in this one. Bingo. So it is mentioned in that one, and on port 7404. Interesting. So that's, as we know, let's go back to this. So that's in it. Did we check this one? That one's not in it. So the second result, let's go into here and see if it's got anything interesting. So it's got 0 hits out of 94. Nothing posted on that. No community comments. Okay. So we may have found some indicator on there. So that may or may not be associated with Rhadamanthys, but let's see. What I'd say is if the vast majority of these are, then I'd probably poke into those ones that haven't got anything on it, and potentially looking at the way they're configured, draw the conclusion whether they are related or not. So this one is clearly bad. Last analysed 15 days ago. We'll double check in this report. This seems to have a fair few in there. So nothing in the recorded future report on there, on that IP. But we've got, there we go, Rhadamanthys. So that's 2 out of 3 on that hunt rule. And let's check this one. 0 hits, nothing. Okay. Let's check this one. 2. Okay. So we've got community comments, Rhadamanthys. I'm pretty confident, this is looking very hopeful, that this is a fairly decent hunt rule for pivoting off of this infrastructure. So that one's clean. I'll just double check it in here. So we've probably found some clean infrastructure in comparison that hasn't been used yet, which is the beauty of doing this kind of, there we go, this is a perfect example. So this is the beauty of this kind of hunting and pivoting. So if you think about it, a report is just a snapshot in time. So they've taken our campaign, say in June, and they've literally just taken a snapshot in time. And if you're a threat intelligence analyst and you're just working off reports and you're just pushing in the IOCs from the reports into your controls, into your SOC, then really you're potentially missing out on a whole world of infrastructure. And I think if we all get in the habit of doing this form of analysis, we'll probably find that you've got all the latest data that hasn't been reported yet, so that will put you in good stead. But secondly, then what you can do, as I say, is have a Python script or some form of automation built in where you say, okay, I want to search for this every single day, and any new IP that I haven't seen before, let me know about it. And then, believe it or not, you could have a whole bunch of rules running, and you'd only have like a small number of indicators each day that you could first job in the morning, just seeing what's come out, pick through them and say, actually, this is an interesting one, this is a new one. And you'll probably find some of them may have some interesting communicating files, could indicate some kind of new campaign, so on and so forth. So let's just go back to this one. I don't know what I did there. So let's just double check this one in here. Nothing. Check this report. Nothing. And let's check in VirusTotal. So this is the one. So we've got no hits in with the vendors. So 0 out of 94, question marks against it. So if you were blindly, say, if you had a blind, a bit of enrichment tooling, say you had something running, I don't know, say you were using OpenCTI with VirusTotal and you were just blindly enriching and it come back 0 out of 94, you'd say, oh, that's clean. But actually, it's really important to look at the other data. So this one has got 8 communicating files. So you've got to ask yourself, hang on a minute, why have we got a whole bunch of files communicating? And we've got some Satoshi VPN, some advertising contracts, so some interesting stuff. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a paid for license of VirusTotal, you'll have some more tabs on there. So you could basically have a look at the content of these files. It gives you more information on where they were uploaded from, and more pivot points on there. But I'm just using the free version for this video, so anyone can follow along. But generally what I do is just open up some new tabs on some of these, and probably want to see how new this campaign is. Some of them are old, these bottom ones, so probably ignore that, but there's some scanned in February, August, and we've got this one in there. So let's just have a look and see what we've got. So this one, this is completely off the cuff. I haven't rehearsed this part at all, so I have no idea what I'm looking at. So, but what I'd look at, history. So in here you've got your first submission date. So this was back in February. So yeah, quite old. It's obviously some kind of executable masquerading as a PDF on there. So no community comments. So nonetheless, it's a malicious file. Again, pdf.exe. First submissions. This one's a month later, so March. And normally there might be something in here to allude to what it might be related to. So backdoor, backrunner. So nothing. And let's have a look at this one. So that's the same. This one. First submission. So February. Is there a newer one on there? First submission. I thought there was. All quite older stuff. But no community comments on there. Okay. So anyway, you can have a poke around, see if there's any new samples on there. And again, if you had more time or you had a particular interest in it, you could continue going through. So let's look at this one. PonyNet, again, you see that coming up quite a bit. Got a community comment on this one, so it's a steal. So I'm pretty confident this is a fairly decent rule in there. And it may be slightly older activity, but there are IPs coming out in this which don't have any detections on. I think it was this German one. Let's just double check. See, yeah, nothing. So let's just have a quick look at this one here and see if there's anything. So again, pretty much the same, SSH open, and you've got the self-signed certificate, same sort of format with the XX and this sort of N / on there. So let's just double check this certificate, and again you've got that same sort of configuration. So you know, it looks like there's some infrastructure here that hasn't been used or hasn't been detected, reported yet. So I guess a clean one like that, if that was to have a beacon or attempt to connect down, it would be deemed as clean. And if you hadn't done the Shodan search and looked at the other reports and done the analysis, you probably, if I was a SOC analyst looking at this right now, I'd be thinking, what the hell is it? You know, at the end of the day, there's nothing in here to indicate there's no current domains on there. So looking at VirusTotal in itself, you could be shooting yourself in the foot, where basically you would know, actually, this is probably related to this Rhadamanthys stealer. So what I would do now is I would take my hunt rule here, and then I would go to my, I don't know what's happened with that. Let's clear that. So you may have seen on Twitter the other day, I released my SSH Hunter script. So what I would do, just purely out of interest, I would run that search query in this tool, and it's sod that it won't work now because it's I'm trying to do it live, but just to see if there's any shared SSH keys on that infrastructure, and there isn't. It's not returned any results on there, so that's good. So you might be lucky, you might come across one that actually does, for some reason they've shared their SSH key, and it's just a good pivot point on there. The next thing I do is return the results. So I have set up Shodan to work in my terminal, and if you've not used it before, if you just Google Shodan CLI, command line interface, they've got some really good instructions on how to set up your Shodan on your command line. The reason why I do this on the command line is just dead handy for downloading results. So you would literally just put in Shodan search and then your search term. So in this one, so you've got Shodan search. Now I put in quotes the two, so it knows that it wants to combine the self-signed certificate with the JARM hash. Now if you ran that on its own, you'll just get back all the results. But literally, what I want is just a list of the IPs, and also what we didn't check actually. If we go back one, what was that one on 7001? The odd one out. So it's in China, just to see. It was just a bit of an odd result. So let's go back. It just seems very strange out of all of them, that one. But it's the same configuration, but just on a different port. Oh well. So what I would do is, because I don't want all the information, I just want the IPs, I'd put a pipe in there, cut, and then I'd just go F1. So with a, F1 on there, like that. Let it run its course, and then you get your list of your IPs. Now I'd copy and save that into a CSV file, the IPs, and my next step would be going to into Maltego, and so I'd want to import third party, and I'd pick my file, new, next. That's fine. So then it lists it, it recognises them as IP addresses, so that's fine. Next, so 21 rows imported, so 21 results, which is, I think, what we was expecting. 21 results, so that tallies up. Click finish, and there we go, boom, they're in there. Now, on this one, I guess to save time, we've kind of validated some. So you could, for example, on your collections, just to keep it nice and tidy, reduce that down to say 5. So it just then bunches up the results together, makes it nice and easy to manage. Now the transform probably that I would most likely start off with on this one. Sometimes it'd be Shodan, but I think on this one I'd probably run the transform VirusTotal. Again, just using the free public transform on here just to see what it kicks back. And let's have a look. So we've got a bunch of results. And the other thing is, so if you go into this view, the list view, and then sort, you can see we've got, it's done like DNS resolution. So probably these domains won't actually have anything to do with the campaigns, because we know, looking at the reports, these were C2s. They weren't hosting, they weren't being used as a lure for tricking a user into clicking on something. They were literally just used to deliver these executables, these artifacts. So we've got some downloaded from C2. So what we should be really trying to find is if there's any files that look very similar to these on there. What else do we have? Anything else that could be interesting? So let's go back to Maltego. So probably, in all truth, what I'd do is I'd scroll down, probably just delete all those to try and keep things tidy. You've got your South Scientifica, Mail Lives, that's fine, and we've got your port numbers, and I think again, you could probably cross-reference those ports with the recorded future report. So reselect the IPs, and I would also have a look in Alien Vault, another free resource. And actually, don't think it returned any VirusTotal. I know what I've done. I didn't. Something has gone funny. Right. Have we got anything interesting there? Where's my VirusTotal results? Let's see if VirusTotal works. Come on. No, it's not playing ball. That's annoying. What's this? Actually, let me start again. Bloody pain. Let's see. It's literally not returning anything. Oh well, that's annoying. So yeah, that's a real pain, because when I did it earlier, it brought up all the files. I'll probably have to revisit why that's not working. Sod's law, never mind. So what I'll probably do is, in a bit, I'll pull all these IPs together. I'll share the hunt rule in a tweet. Apologies for the Maltego not working, that's quite embarrassing. But anyway, so just to conclude, so what we've done, we've basically taken an IP, we've pivoted off of this report, found how the certificate works, created a hunt rule, found 21 new IPs. Some of them haven't been reported. We've got a way of tracking this infrastructure now, although it stems back to June, and been recorded previously by Recorded Future. We have now got a way to identify the new infrastructure on there. I hope you found that of use, and thanks for watching. Thank you.